This is the Ramana Maharshi Satsang, a time to listen, reflect, and deeply meditate. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. Welcome. I'm Richard Clarke. I'm not a guru or a teacher. I love this teaching and so want to share it. I'm reading and commenting on the Avadhut Gita. Continuing this week, I read from chapter 1, the final verses 53 to 59. Since the imperfections of attachment and the like are not in me, I am above the suffering of the body. Know me to be infinite, like unto space, one Atman. 54. My mind, my friend, many words are not needed, and the world hardly comprehends reason. In a word, I have told you the essence of truth. You are truth. You are as space. 55. In whatever place and in whatever state the yogi dies, his spirit is absorbed into that as, on the destruction of the jar, the space in the jar is united with absolute space. 56. Whether he dies conscious or in a coma, in a holy temple, or in the house of an untouchable, he attains liberation, becoming the all-pervading Brahman. 57. The yogis regard righteousness, prosperity, desire for paradise and liberation, and also the moving and fixed objects as mere will-o'-the-wisps. 58. The Avadhut, in unshakable equanimity, living in the holy temple of nothingness, walks naked, knowing all to be Brahman. 59. Where there is no third or fourth, where all is known as Atman, where there is neither righteousness or unrighteousness, how can there be either bondage or liberation? Note, in addition to waking, dreaming, and deepless sleep, Indians reckon with the fourth state, also called Turiya. Beyond it is which is beyond words and common experience. Here are explanations of these Avadhut Gita verses from the perspective of Ramana Maharshi. Verse 53. Since the imperfections of attachment and the like are not in me, I am above the suffering of the body. Know me to be infinite, like unto space, one Atman. In this verse, the Avadhut describes the state of the Atman as transcending attachment and suffering. Ramana Maharshi would interpret this as pointing towards the nature of the true self, which remains unaffected by the fluctuations and afflictions of the body and mind. The self is likened to space, limitless and untouched by the experiences of the transient world. Ramana teaches that realizing yourself as the infinite and undivided Atman leads to liberation and freedom from suffering. Suffering does not touch you. Verse 54. My mind, my friend, many words are not needed, and the world hardly comprehends reason. In a word, I've told you the essence of truth. You are truth. You are as space. The verse emphasizes the simplicity and directness of spiritual realizations. Many words are not needed. Ramana stressed the need for inner silence and direct self-inquiry over reliance on intellectual reasoning. The self is the essence of the truth of Sat and is likened to space, vast, formless, and all-pervading. Ramana would encourage seekers to turn inward and discover this truth within themselves through direct experience and self-knowledge rather than intellectual discourse. Inquire and know that within you which is vast and formless. In whatever place and in whatever state the yogi dies, his spirit is absorbed into that. As on the destruction of the jar, the space in the jar is united with absolute space. This verse illustrates liberation, moksha, in Advaita Vedanta. Just as a jar space merges seamlessly with the infinite space when the jar is broken, so the liberated yogi merges with the absolute Brahman upon death. He is not different from Brahman either in life or death. Ramana Maharshi would say that this is the culmination of self-realization, where individual consciousness merges back into the universal consciousness. Can you find the infinite space within yourself? Verse 56. Whether he dies conscious or in a coma, in a holy temple or in the house of an untouchable, he attains liberation, becoming the all-pervading Brahman. This verse underscores the universality of liberation, moksha, in Advaita. Ramana says that the realization of your true nature as Brahman transcends external circumstances, including the state of consciousness at the time of death or the social context during one's life. Liberation is attainable by anyone who realizes their true self, irrespective of outer conditions or societal norms. Liberation is within yourself, by yourself, knowing yourself. Verse 57. The yogis regard righteousness, prosperity, desire for paradise and liberation, and also the moving and fixed objects as mere will-o'-the-wisps. This verse highlights the perspective of detached renunciation, vairagya, in spiritual practice. Things come, things go. You are attached to none of them. They come and go as they will. The Maharishi emphasizes the impermanence and illusory nature of worldly desires and achievements. True spiritual seekers prioritize self-realization, liberation, over transient goals and material pursuits, recognizing them as fleeting illusions on the path to ultimate truth. True spiritual seekers look to the happiness from within that is always there, rather than the transient pleasures of the world, which come and go like a phantom, a will-o'-the-wisp. Verse 58, the Avadhut, in unshakable equanimity, living in the holy temple of nothingness, walks naked, knowing all to be Brahman. This verse is about the state of enlightened detachment and equanimity as viewed by Advaita Vedanta. Ramana teaches that true realization leads to inner peace and unity with the universe. Brahman, transcending all dualities, trinities, and distinctions. The metaphor of walking naked signifies shedding all external identities and attachments, embodying the essence of pure awareness. Who are you when you walk naked, shedding all external identities and attachments? Verse 59, where there is no third or fourth, where all is known as Atman, where there is neither righteousness or unrighteousness, how can there be either bondage or liberation? This verse speaks to the non-dual realization of the self, Atman, as the underlying reality of existence, Brahman. Ramana would view this as transcending all dualities and concepts, recognizing the self, Atman, as the sole reality beyond notions and various states, beyond bondage or liberation. In this pure awareness, there is no distinction between things, no difference, and liberation is seen as inherent in realizing your true nature. Bondage and liberation are for some person. Are you a person? These verses from the Avadhuta Gita focus on transcendence of suffering and attachment by realizing the infinite and unbounded nature of the self, of Atman. They illustrate the universality of liberation, and that realization transcends external events and circumstances. The words emphasize the illusory nature of worldly desires and identities and lead to the ultimate realization of the self as the sole reality beyond dualities like bondage and liberation. The self is yourself, the only self there is. So inquire, know yourself, and be always free and at peace. And now we'll have a video from Nome, One Undivided Self.
One self exists. If we are bodies, then there is you, I, he, she, etc. But are we a body? Are you a body? If you are a body, you are here in this place. If you are not the body, but are of an existence innately transcendent of the body, then where are you? Who are you? If the self is defined as body, as a body, then there appears to be multiplicity, multiple selves, apparently one for each body. If you cease to misidentify your existence with the body, what then happens to multiplicity? How then do you distinguish you, I, and the rest? One self exists. Being bodiless, it is unborn and indestructible. Not defined in terms of things objective like the body, it is infinite and eternal, of the nature of being, consciousness, bliss, Satchidananda. Bodiless, it is changeless, without condition, phase, or state. This is your very existence. Cease to misidentify with the body, and the direct experience of this, the knowledge of this, is self-evident. If you are not the body, then all of the qualities, attributes, and activities that pertain to the body do not pertain to you. You cannot be described in terms of active or inactive, here and there, now and then, and so forth and so on. All of that pertains to the body. But are you a body? You who know of the body, can this you be a body? One self exists, the infinite, the eternal, of the nature of Brahman, the vast absolute. This is yourself. And there are not two selves. One's existence is invariably singular. Self-knowledge is that in which the undivided existence knows itself as it is, reposing in its own blissful being. Because of this, Sri Bhagavan taught that one should inquire profoundly, in a non-objective manner, who am I? That is, cease to regard the known as the knower, what is objective as yourself, and actually come to know firsthand what the real significance of I means. Who am I? Hearing this instruction, some have wondered, did the Maharshi mean that we should inquire into the true self? Who am I? Or should the inquiry be into the ego, the apparently individualized being? Who am I? If the inquiry is into the self needs no inquiry. It is innately self-luminous, that perfection of being consciousness bliss. How could it inquire, and into what? So the inquiry cannot be for the absolute self, according to that point of view. So then the inquiry must be for the ego, the individualized being. However, the individualized being is entirely illusory, entirely unreal. How could that which is unreal inquire? How could that which is unreal know? The inquiry is into yourself, regardless of whether it is conceived of as absolute or as individualized, for there is only one self. And by an inquiry to know yourself, the false assumption of being a limited individual, because it is unreal, vanishes. And what remains is your quintessential being, self-revealed. To assume you are an individual and then seek the demise of the ego is, the Maharshi says, like a thief being dressed up as a policeman and then being sent out to catch the thief, which is himself. Will he ever be apprehended in such a manner? Therefore, for self-realization, for self-knowledge, inquire. Inquire into the very nature of the inquirer. Casting aside the tendency to misidentify with what is objective, that is the body, the senses, the mind, inclusive of all the permutations of thought, question the very supposition of existing as an individual entity. If you inquire in such a manner, the real existence shines forth for itself, limitless, self-luminous, the only real self that there is. That is the self of all, and that doesn't even have a notion of all. That is yourself, and in truth there is no other yourself. If you thus inquire and conclusively realize what your true nature is, the perfection of bliss of being, which is unending, is unveiled. There are not two selves, a higher self and a lower self, a true self and yourself. There is only one self. There are not two selves, that one could know or be ignorant of the other. There is only one self. realize within yourself what is being hinted at.
All right, and now we'll take a few minutes to meditate and inquire ourselves. You exist. Notice that you exist. You exist, and you know that you exist. So inquire. Can you identify moments in your life where attachment has caused suffering? Who is it that experiences this suffering? Do you suffer? Reflect on your own attachments and desires. How can you cultivate a sense of detachment towards worldly achievements? Can you cultivate greater equanimity and detachment in your daily life? Reflect on the power of silence and direct experience in your spiritual practice. How can you cultivate more silence within yourself? What does it mean to be silent? Who am I? What is the nature of my existence? What actually exists and what is just an appearance? All right. And our chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Now, next week, I'm going to start with the first chapter of the Ashravaka Gita, one of these other ancient Gitas that is deeply non-dual.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Are there more chapters of this current one?
There are 7 more chapters.
Because I really like it.
So we could be doing this one for months and months more, but I'm going to change to the other one for a bit.
All right. Yes, Master.
And well, I'm just following my instinct.
Very good.
Yeah.
And what I still notice is that we've been doing this stuff together for a long time, and still I have Nome videos that go with all of it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So to me, it shows the depth and quality of the teaching that we've all been given.
Yeah.
We are very blessed.
Yes. Anyway, then, namaste, and we'll see you next week, and we'll try on another Gita for size.
Wonderful.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. The book, Who Am I with Comments, is my take on these early teachings of Ramana Maharshi. It's available on Amazon, free to Kindle subscribers. A link is in the video notes. These videos bring Ramana's teachings into your direct experience. Click subscribe to see more. Click thumbs up to like, and send questions and start a dialogue with a comment